Hi everyone, my name is Trish. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at a few yoga postures for PMS, bad cramps, things that you might be experiencing during that time of the month. I do have a few props with me that hopefully you'll be able to have with you as well. A block or two, you're probably only going to need one, and a blanket if you've got one. And also I have a sandbag today, so that's a new prop. I mean, that might be not something that's easily available to you at home, but you'll see why it can be useful. If you don't have one, it's not a big deal. Using something that's a little bit weighted, if you have a weighted blanket or even just a heating pad, you'll see. So even if it's not weighted, but I'm just fortunate enough to have one with me today. But you can see how we can adjust that if you don't have one. The blocks as well, of course, you're always welcome to use a couple of hardcover books. And we're just going to get into a few postures that I know sometimes we don't feel like practicing during that time of the month, depending on the severity of what you're experiencing. But I know that sometimes for me too, depending on the day, I like to try to just maybe even get a couple in. So go with what your body needs, and you can just try these things out. So we're going to start with our very first one. A blanket is useful. Again, any kind of blanket, or maybe even if you just have a pillow, then that can be helpful too. I'm rolling up the blanket like a really nice long cylinder, but again, you just want basically enough space that it's going to cover, or maybe just come out to the sides. I would maybe suggest that the blanket that you're using, or pardon me, the pillow that you might be using maybe is a little bit firm. Just so that you get a little bit of the compression. I know for me, sometimes that feels good. I like to have a little bit of compression in my stomach area, the uterus, of course, because maybe it's a little inflamed, and that's why we are experiencing those cramps. So I just roll it up nice and long. You can see here that the more you roll it up, obviously the more intense it's going to be. So you can always back off of it and kind of try it out as you come into the posture. So I'm going to roll up mine pretty intense, I think, because I can take it. Oh, another key thing to think about when you're coming into this posture as well is that you don't necessarily want to, you want to make sure that you have a pretty clear stomach, so you wouldn't have had something to eat just before you do this posture specifically, because it's also a nice stimulation for digestion. So have a nice empty belly. Okay, so I'm rolling it up, and I'm just going to place, again, somewhere in and around my lower belly, maybe just right above the front hip bones. I actually should mention that a block may be useful here too, because if you want maybe some extra support for your head, you can drop your forehead down on the block, and that will allow you to kind of back off of the posture as well a little bit. If you want to go a little further, you can stack your forearms, drop your forehead down, or you can even come down maybe to one side, so right temple, if you want to take your arms back. There's definitely a few options. See, for me, I know I can go a little bit more intense, so I'm going to back it up and roll it up even more. You can see sometimes it takes a little bit of time to think about where to put it. There we go. So I'm going to use a block for now, just putting it on the second height. And if it feels a little bit intense, sometimes we feel like we want to resist away from it. So if you start to settle into a deeper breath, and also that idea of kind of letting go of that resistance and allowing yourself to kind of melt into the blanket or whatever support you're using underneath you. You might even start to feel a little bit of that stimulation and circulation, or just some little things happening in and around your lower belly. Maybe even like a pulsing sensation. And of course, the best thing to do is always listen to your body. So if you are feeling like something doesn't feel quite right, you can adjust and move the blanket at a different height. Or maybe it doesn't feel good underneath you at all, and you can just take it out, rest on your belly a little bit. And just take your time to maybe do a little body scan to see where you can let go and soften a little bit more. I'm noticing I'm feeling a little bit anxious through my shoulders, so I'm just allowing them to fall away from my ears a little bit more as I breathe. With this compression, you might feel that your belly, it's maybe a little bit more challenging to breathe. So I encourage you to send your inhales into the sides of your ribs and also the back part of your ribs or your lower back as well. So when I say that, just imagine expanding through those areas as you inhale. And again, that melting sensation over your prop, your blanket, whatever you've got there as you exhale. And as we know, it can feel uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes we find a position that feels good so we can stay. But again, if you need to maneuver, or you can even try, just finding another angle. If it feels better to even maybe send the hips off to one side a little bit, just slightly. That can feel good too. And you can see I'm just rolling off onto my block a little bit more towards my right temple. And then you can see how it feels on the other side. If you've spent some good time there, that feels useful to you. So just continue to breathe in, expand, and then breathe it out. So we'll just stay for another 2 to 3 breaths, or maybe you want to stay longer and pause the video. You can always do that too. And then you can slowly, whenever you're ready, just turn more forward, taking your gaze down, walking back up to the forearms if you were further down. And then slowly coming back up to the knees. And then you can just take the blanket out of your path, maybe the block as well. We're going to come into all fours so that we can take a few rounds of cat-cow. So line up those knees under the hips and wrists under the shoulders. Drop your belly and lift your tail as you breathe in. Exhale, start to round, dropping the crown of the head and tucking your tailbone underneath you. Some lengthening in this area might feel good too, so that cow stretch right here might feel nice, just creating some length and space in and around the lower belly. Inhale as you lift. Exhale as you round. And you can take a last breath here, just coming back to more of a neutral spine. We're gonna use that blanket again. So these postures, like as I mentioned, and movements are really up to you in terms of how many you wanna do. If you wanna just do one or two, pick a couple out of the class today and just do those if that feels good on a given day. Okay, so again with the same idea in terms of how many times you're gonna roll it for the compression. We're gonna come into a little bit of a twist. If you need some more support under this, the knee that's gonna be down, you can roll up your mat, even just flip it to make it a little bit softer for you, or you can roll it up a little bit more. You can put another blanket under that knee. But for now, we're gonna take the right foot forward. And I'm just gonna take, you can see the long part of the blanket is just kind of hanging away. And I'm gonna roll it up enough, draw it kind of right into the hip crease. And then I'm gonna lean in. You can see the spine wants to stay long, so I'm still kind of leading or lengthening through the crown of my head. And then I'm gonna take a little turn. So actually, maybe I'll turn around so you can see a little bit better. And because we're just kind of easing into this, maybe you just take your left hand to the outside of your right thigh, and then that right hand or right palm can turn away, coming to the back of the pelvis. And then you can just lean into what feels good. Maybe it's already in your practice. You can see I already want to burp because I can feel the compression making me want to. But it's okay, I don't think it's coming yet. You can just take that elbow and hook it. I maybe just move my mic so that it doesn't interfere too much. Hopefully. Okay, you can hook that elbow on the outside, bring prayer hands, and get a little deeper twist as well. So I'm going to take that lighter option of just my palm on the outside. That's what feels good for me right now. And I'm still kind of encouraging my right shoulder open. So take a couple of breaths. We won't stay too long. I'm closing my eyes just to kind of lean in and see what feels right for me. And just to find some comfort and to remind myself to let go. But that's, again, just a personal thing. So you find what feels good for you. If you just want to soften your gaze and keep the eyes open, that's cool too. Maybe taking another 3 breaths. And you can unwind. Take the hands out, gently slide that leg back. I'm just going to turn again. You can stay where you are, but I'm just going to turn so that you can see the left side. So taking that, or stepping that left foot forward. Bringing my blanket again, hugging it right into the hip crease. Leaning in. Just finding my setup. Right hand coming to the left outer thigh. Or again, if it feels good to hook, then you can hook that elbow. So for me on this side, it feels a little bit better to hook. Or maybe I'll just show this example too. And you can still see if I have prayer hands, I'm still kind of drawing my hands in towards the sternum or the middle of the chest. Keeping the shoulders down away from the ears and lengthening. So this class kind of doubles as digestion, I guess, too, because the twists are such a benefit for that. Again, that compression and just that movement in with the organs, or making contact in with, increase the circulation in that area. And see, now staying for a longer time now, my shoulder's getting tired, so I'll just switch to the option with the hand around the thigh, and we'll stay for another 2 to 3 breaths maybe. And that deep breathing is key. And then just take your time slowly backing off. Again, plant those hands. Bring the foot back. Now you can have the blanket for this one or not. The compression might be enough by keeping we're going to come into a child's pose. So you can keep your knees or your legs close together with this option and then coming forward. So if the body allows here, and you can take your block too to rest your forehead. And you can stack it as high as you want. So that's what I was saying, maybe even the 2 blocks are helpful, because depending on our bodies and the experience with our bodies, maybe we need to be a little bit higher, and that's enough compression. So you can always stack it, you know, with anything that feels good. Maybe you do come all the way down. The hands are back, the palms are looking up. Or maybe you have a single block on a given height. So again, it's your own personal experience. Now I was saying with the blanket, if you want to increase that compression, again, you can take that blanket, a roll towards your belly, draw it right into towards those hip creases, come over, and then you can really feel maybe a little bit more compression, more stimulation. But feel free. Again, you're going with what your body is like. So if you need to take the knees a little bit wider and then maybe add the blanket there, you can still receive some amazing benefits with those same ideas. Stacking blocks, the blanket. Just sending that deep, deep breath into the side body and your back body. I'm just coming back to legs coming a little closer. And I'm actually just taking my forearms down too, because that feels kind of nice. The nice thing about our practice is that when you just kind of listen to your instincts and just allow things to happen. Sometimes something comes up that feels really good. So let's go for another 2 breaths. Nice big breath in. Let it go. One more time. And then taking your time to slowly lift your hips, maybe come up to the hands if you were having those hands swept all the way back. And now we're going to come onto our back. So I was talking about that lengthening before through the front of the body. If you want to take one of your blocks, we can come into a supported bridge. So leaning back, bending your knees, feet flat on your mat. And then just walking the bottom tips of your shoulder blades down towards the direction of your hips. And then you can take your block. I like to take it on the first height or the lowest height first. I'm just lifting up the hips there to slide it underneath the back of the pelvis or right underneath the sacrum. Arms can just rest. And again, that sensation of just kind of letting go, also even through the pelvic floor, because we can, again, because of that, maybe a little inflammation and tension that's happening there, we want to tense up and squeeze through the pelvic floor, squeeze through the glutes. So with the support of the block, or even your blanket, if you want to roll up the blanket, if that feels better for you, just a little bit of height and softening can also maybe influence the sensations that we feel and hopefully help us to relax. We're staying in these postures, you can see, for a little extra time. You're welcome to stay as long as you want. So we'll stay for another 3 breaths. And then you can slowly just use a little bit of support from the feet to brace a little through the belly, lift the hips up. I didn't mention that if you do want to actually go a little higher, you can flip the height of the block and get a little extra height. You can even go up a little higher if you want to turn it to the highest height. But it's all about your own comfort. So I'm not going to stay there too long, but those are definitely your options, only if they feel good to you, okay? And then you can slide the block out. Take a moment if you want to sway your knees side to side. And then this is where that sandbag can come in, or again, if you're at home, you're in a spot where you can have or plug in a heating pad. The heating pad can sit on your waist or on your belly. So of course with the sandbag, it's weighted, so you're going to get that compression again. That might feel nice. And we're going to come into bound angle or Baddha Konasana, so taking the soles of the feet together, resting on your back, taking that sandbag right into the lower belly. And blocks can be useful here too, or pillows. You can take the blocks right underneath the outside of the knees or the thighs. That just gives you an extra ability to relax more instead of feeling a lot of tension in through the groin and inner thighs. You can take it to any height. Again, that just lets you relax, okay, and support yourself into the posture. Couple of options for your arms. You can leave the arms resting all the way out like this with the palms up. Or you can take cactus arms. Okay, not a couple, a few. Or you can even grab your elbows and open up here. And you can see the positioning of the arms even influences our attitude. Just kind of suggesting a little bit more opening, vulnerability, surrender. Just be sure that if you're holding on to the elbows, you give yourself an opportunity to switch them out. So if I bring them forward to look at them, my right forearm is closer to me. I'm just going to switch it so now it's furthest away and then take it back. So that heat can feel nice. Even if you have like a heavy book, you can put a blanket, a heavy hardcover book, another blanket on top. Be creative with how you find or with your props so that you can find something that feels good to you. So we are going to finish off our practice here. So feel free again, of course, to stay as long as you want. And when you are ready to come out of the posture, of course, we'll just remove that potential support that's there. Slowly take the blocks or whatever you have under the knees away from you. Take your hands to your outer thighs. Draw your knees in towards one another, and then you can slowly roll onto one side. Take your time picking yourself up. And of course, I mean, it's not that this is a quick fix, an easy fix. We all have different experiences with our time of the month, and some more severe than others, some days more severe than others. So there are other things that can influence how we feel at this time. But hopefully this does provide a little bit of support on the days where you do feel like, you know what, I can get a little bit of something in. Maybe just a couple of the postures, as I mentioned. But please feel free to like, share, comment on your experience, because I would love to hear about it. There might be some opportunities for me to create some more videos that would continue to support this process for you. And of course, share as well. And let me know if you have anything else that you want to hear about, or any other classes that you'd like to see in the comments, and I'd be happy to do my best to deliver that content for you. So I hope this has been helpful for you today, and I hope you have an amazing day. Namaste.